Hey everybody, you might be wondering why I'm just getting into this. This was something that we were supposed to do more than me a few weeks ago, but we didn't get to it. Still, there's a lot to be said in retrospect for the outcome of the Kansas City Chiefs beating the Buffalo Bills 27 to 24 and the Detroit Lions beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 31 to 23. Now, I'll say this first of all. The Chiefs went in. This is how significant this was. They went into Buffalo and emerged victorious in bad weather conditions, in conditions thought better suited for Buffalo, at least by image, than Kansas City. But the problem with the Bills is they didn't solve the riddle of the Kansas City offense, and I call it speed design. What I mean by that is, look, they get the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands quickly. They don't waste time. And the result is a little bit of effort, but a lot of return. In other words, Patrick Mahomes generally throws the ball maybe about, 20 feet away horizontally, but the return is 40 feet in the direction of the end zone. So he doesn't have to do the work of dropping back really, really deep, waiting for someone to get open, which always, always causes bad timing. No, he just gets rid of the ball. That's hard to defend. And what I learned watching the Kansas City Chiefs play the Buffalo Bills is that, yet again, that offensive approach should be patented. It will wear you down. You think you've got the right defense and that you're going to defend a play headed to what you believe is the left, they go to the right. The right, they go to the left. And then they do it very quickly. And then they do it out of a number of different formations. And then they motion. And then occasionally they shift. So the modern Kansas City Chiefs offense is a smorgasbord of NFL offensive history. That's what makes it so much fun to watch. But it's also a study in the use of simply what I call logical football. That is, hey, you know the defense consists of superhumanly fast players now. Why are you going to have your marquee quarterback hold on to the ball for long? And why are you going to ask your marquee quarterback to be a little sitting duck as opposed to rolling him out here, spreading him out over there, handing him off here, and throwing here and there, which is what the Chiefs do? All of this, and yet the Chiefs are still the only NFL team that runs that kind of offense. And you would have to ask the question, why? And the best answer I can come up with is that NFL is a kind of a club of habits, but the league is less likely to follow a habit it believes too complicated to replicate. How else to explain why other teams haven't used Dallas Cowboys flex defense when Tom Landry was coaching, save for those teams where the defensive coordinator or the head coach had been a coach for the Cowboys? Like, for example, well, really a head coach too. Dick Nolan is a perfect example. Yeah, Mike Nolan's father. Dick Nolan was defensive coordinator with Tom Landry and took his flex defense and brought it to San Francisco. Same is true for Dan Reeves. Dan Reeves didn't bring the flex, though. He brought, however, pre-shifts and multiple offense when he went to coach the Denver Broncos. Remember that? Remember that? And how can we forget that there are other Landry disciples, as they're called, that brought some parts of Dallas Cowboys football with them to their organizations. But today, yeah, there are a number of people who coach under Andy Reid and work with Andy Reid, but you don't see any other team in the NFL replicating what Andy Reid does on offense. Now, I thought it was going to be Eric Bieniemy at the Washington Commanders, but I believe that Eric Bieniemy was adjusting his offense to his personnel. I figured that, running a Mahomes like offense wasn't exactly in their future. Much, I believe, to the disappointment of the owners of the Washington football team, now called the Commanders, when they're trying to decide who to be head coach, offensive coordinator, and so on. I think they got the right hire in Dan Quinn to move forward, but it's really too bad that Eric Bieniemy wasn't kept on to be offensive coordinator under the regime of Dan Quinn. Okay. Now, so you would say, okay, Zinni, that's all well and good. You haven't talked about Detroit over Tampa Bay. All right, I will talk about it. I really believe that Tampa Bay was going to beat Detroit at its home. And while I'm happy for Detroit winning, it was a joy to watch, Dave Canales, the offensive coordinator for the Bucs, should not have been elevated to be the Panthers or Carolina's next head coach. Why? Because he did not put in a good game plan. Some people say, well, he did well with Baker Mayfield and he did this. Look, as far as I'm concerned, getting the playoffs is not good enough. You have to win the conference championship and then get to the Super Bowl and then be anointed. But what we have today is we have this rush to get, frankly speaking, white male college coaches who have no NFL head coaching experience, all right, to come into the league and be, NFL head coaches, as opposed to people like Brian Flores, who, when he was coach with the Miami Dolphins, managed to post, a respectable 24 win, 25 loss, 3 years that saw him go from 5-11, or basically 5 wins, to 9-8 to 10 wins. Okay. And actually, he went from 5-11 to 10 wins to 9-8. I believe it was in there. But the bottom line is he showed improvement. He fielded a team that was playoff ready 2 of the first 3 years he was there, but didn't have a great relationship with Stephen Ross, obviously, and decided he was going to do more than quit. He was going to file suit against the National Football League, and that's still out there. We have John Akala. John says, hello, do you think a coach that the title of assistant head coach would automatically be interim head coach if the head of some reason can't coach? Yeah, that happens. That's what happens. The assistant head coach becomes the coach if the regular coach has an ailment, like, that has to keep him at home, like COVID-19 or something. That's common fare. Why do you ask? I'm curious. How have you been? Now, while I'm waiting for the answer from you on that, I will then go on and I'll talk about how I believed that the Buccaneers missed their opportunity in that final drive by calling a play down the middle, and this is their offensive coordinator, too greedy. Work the flats and the sides. They had plenty of time to go downfield and score. Their use of clock management was awful, okay? Just was awful. And yet, I find it mind-boggling that this guy, out of all the overqualified black head coaches, would be elevated in that way. Now, some of you would say, wait a minute, Zenny, you have 3 black head coaches. That's a great start, isn't it? Well, my point is, you don't take people who are lesser in ability in terms of, experience and put them in the head coaching place over somebody else who is obviously better qualified and black. This is the time when all of these well-qualified African American coaches should be elevated. Get the problem out of the way. Level the playing field by righting and wrong. Truly addressing that this should be a meritocracy by making it a meritocracy. Right now, it's not. It is not a meritocracy. The Bucs, by virtue of their defense and their offense to some degree, should have beaten the Lions. The Lions were lucky to win that game. There were a number of sweaty palm situations in that contest. Thank courtesy of the Todd Bowles-led Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And so now Todd Bowles is going to go up against the guy that was his offensive coordinator that quickly. Yeah, that just doesn't ring right to me. It doesn't. So that's what I want to say about that outcome. All right. Subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnowblog.com. Well, see ya.